Hello there. Welcome back to an episode of the FNtasia podcast. My name is Levin2K. I'll be your host for the day, joined by two amazing legends of the Fortnite community, you could say, to varying degrees, of course. We'll start off with the man, if you're watching on YouTube, who's right next to me, Reese Hub.
Hello, hello. A little bit different of a setup for myself, as you may be able to tell. I am at my parents' house for the next 2.5 weeks. Unfortunately, I will be missing Global Championships. Hence why I'm on my phone with this odd angle and carrying this mic so that the whole of this podcast, if you're watching on video, I'm going to be going, oh,
Switching hands.
Maybe a little stretch, get some blood back into it, you know?
Maybe this is the perfect time for like a 5-hour ep then, really get that workout.
I mean, we're doing 33rd to first predictions.
I'm speaking like that. My voice is good here after a while.
I actually like
dodging.
Yeah,
the dodging France allegations aren't really, getting solved here. Every time.
I mean, look, I'll come and grab a cat, but I am looking after them. I'll hold them up to the camera, and you can see the proof of why I'm here.
Proof of life.
Yeah. Well, I am also joined by the lovely Mr. Coach Boop NL, Mr. Almost in heaven with how bright everything always is.
There's literally none of the blinds are open except for one in the corner. It's not even that bad. What do you mean?
Nah,
I mean, I've got such a tan now. Like, you need extra light in. Like, the sun's hitting treating me good here.
Wow! Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
It's great to see. Great to see. Great to be joined by both of you. Obviously, it's a big week in the world of Fortnite because we have the Global Championships taking place this weekend. And there's obviously plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about, essentially what we think is going to go down this weekend. But with it being such a busy week, I want to actually just ask both of you guys, what does this week look like for you guys? Now, obviously, this is the third year of the Global Championship, the fourth year if you count Invitational. Obviously you guys both make content, Boop, you're doing a lot of streams, Risha making videos. What does this week sort of look like for you guys?
Mine's actually very easy in comparison to normal because for me, most of my content is after the fact. So before I traveled yesterday, I got all my shorts and my long form video already sent off to editors and whatnot for this week. So basically the rest of the week I've got to record some extra videos which will be in prep for Global Championships, some predictions, looking over the map, all that kind of stuff that we'll cover a little bit here too. So it's not actually that hard for the rest of the week. And then on Saturday, Sunday, hopefully my upload speed will be good enough that I can actually do a viewing party from here. We will see. Please, fingers crossed.
Go get Starlink.
But then next week. That's not a bad idea, actually. I mean, it's fine if I just don't have Ethernet right now where I am. I'm going to move for the rest of the week when my mum leaves on holiday. So I'll have an actual Ethernet. I'm using Wi-Fi right now, so it's not great. But once that's in, I think I should be able to stream that. Should be fine. So basically, I'm just doing some extra videos and then streaming that over the weekend. But then the next week is where it gets busy because I actually have time to make content on Globals this year, and most FNCSs I don't because there's 3 days before a new season drops. But now there's
replays doesn't get deleted.
Plenty of time. So yeah, it's gonna get busy over that. But then there's obviously I'm gonna do analyze every game win similar to what I did last year. People really like that. That was really good. That was really one of my fun ones from my extra channel. Probably do something else in the extra channel as well because there's so much content to do. And then obviously big video on the winners. So we'll see what that looks like as soon as I know who's going to win it. Because
hopefully there's an interesting winner and story to tell, right?
I mean,
there always is, but
there is the least interesting one probably has been Miro and Cooper. In terms of story, if you look at across the years, there wasn't as much build up, but people were still really interested in that video anyway, and I still think it was really interesting. So even if a more unknown team, it's not like they were unknown, but not one of the big heavy hitters that everyone predicted wins. I think it's still super interesting anyway. So I'm not even too worried about who wins from that front. So.
I mean, that's just the story of the tournament, though. It was that tournament was just uninteresting with the format and everything that happened in it. So, well, how can you make magic from that sort of win?
I feel like nobody can have a conversation about Global Championships without shitting on 2023. That's a prerequisite. If you ever have a conversation about Fortnite lands, you have to shit on Global 2023.
Yeah.
It's one of the rules. What about yourself, then, Boop?
If I was a relevant streamer, I'd be traveling to Lyon right now. But unfortunately, they couldn't even get me a desk in the bathroom or something. Realistically, so I'll be staying here. My plan is, You gotta make diamonds out of fucking pressure. What the fuck the saying is? I'll be going live like 6 hours before the start of game number 1. I'm gonna do like 16 different prediction lists, 15 montage reviews of random Asia and Middle East teams. Maybe like an hour of like Peterbot glaze here and there. 22 minutes of ads. Might as well use of it because those people can't stream until they're in the arena. Realistically, so might as well make the most of it.
Yeah, man, farm it.
Pro-Am, we were up to like 5K views before everyone went live. So might as well make the most of it in the opportunity the Blast has given me. Love them. So I'll be watching from home. A week for me, we're doing some stuff like outside the game, like with like noble maps and stuff. Like we're building some stuff over there that I think is gonna be really cool for globals. That should be out very, very soon. And then obviously we're gonna be hosting scrims on Thursday and Friday for globals.
Nice.
But based off the schedule that I've seen, though, it doesn't look like there's much room for people to actually play scrims. Not that like scrims actually matter like the day before globals, right? It's more like warm-up / practice. And currently, probably the most reason why people can play scrims is to know if they got like a friend on a mountain they can trade surge with, Because in theory, that Japanese team's going to be on the mountain, but when you play one game of scrims, then you're like, there they are. There's our team, just confirms it for them. So quite an important job then in that case.
Mentally in my mind, make those Thursday scrims bang, right? Make them run, make them good, because I'm now relying on you for a goated extra video on Friday. Predictions video. How is the first scrim of globals looking video?
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at these guys, man. The content never stops.
What are you doing? Obviously, you're going to be traveling out there. You're currently not in Leon. I mean, unless you've got some crazy green screen tech.
There's a lack of beret as well. Others with no reason fans.
Yeah, by the time this is out, I should have landed in Leon by the time this is out on Wednesday. We're recording this on Tuesday. Yeah, so tomorrow I'm heading to Leon. A lot of people was wondering this, like, what did the casters do? I mean, it's kind of straightforward, right? So Wednesday we'll get there. It's like a chill day. You just, because that's when most people sort of flying in as well, like players and stuff. Thursday they'll do a media day, so they'll film some content. They'll get us to shoot some stuff. They'll do like a technical rehearsal where they just make sure like certain parts of the show works, like all the lights and everything is like working and everything. Then on Friday they'll do like an actual dress rehearsal where we'll go over what we're talking about. We'll practice, go through everything, figure out who's where. And then Sunday, Saturday.
People who don't know what those two rehearsals mean for Levin is that he's going to stand around all day and there'll be like 10 minutes where he does something, and then the rest of the time is just standing around all day.
Yeah. Some of my employers may be watching, so I'll speak quite politely. But yeah, some of those LAN rehearsal days are some of the worst rehearsal days, in the sense of like what Reese is saying, where like you do about 20 minutes of work and you're standing around for like 10
but you're
hours.
needed. It's like you're needed to be there to test.
You have to be in the proximity. And you
have to be. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot of times it feels inconvenient, but like you're necessary. You're like, I know why I'm doing it, but it like feels like I could do something else with my day. Even though you can just get Mikkel up there. He could stand in there.
Just get someone else standing there, yeah. And to be fair, they do that sometimes. Like sometimes they will just like do stuff, and they're like using like some of the behind the scenes people in position. And I'm like, well, we're here. Like you might as well just use us. Like, like, I'm not bothered. It's always a good time because when we're in the proximity, like players will be around and stuff, so you get to like speak to people and you use the time wisely regardless. So it works out. But busy week for everyone. Except for Reese, because he gets to just chill and sit back until next week when it gets busy for him.
Until next week, yeah.
We're not joined by Coach Harry today because it's Coach Harry. He was never going to be
busy week for Coach Harry. Busy week for Coach Harry.
Yeah, he's got a lot of things to do, man. Like,
yeah. Wait, does he? Is he coaching in that Globals? I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Just taking it.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's busy week. It's busy week for everyone.
Yeah, he's got a lot to do, man.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's get into it. Of course, the Global Championships take place this weekend, and the number one question everyone's always asking around this time is, what's everyone's top 5? Who do you think's going to win? And these types of things. I want to start off by asking you guys, comparatively, right, to last year, obviously this is the first trio land, so it's different in a large way. To see how that actually plays out will be interesting. Do you feel going into globals this weekend that it is straightforward who's going to win? Do you feel like it's locked in?
No.
Comparatively, when you maybe look to last year, obviously everybody was looking at Peterbot as the one. I know there was uncertainty around his off-spawn situation last year. There's uncertainty around it this year as well. Does it feel as straightforward though?
No. I mean, last year it was straightforward, but I still don't feel like it felt, a guarantee, because last year, everyone's going, Peterbot Poyle's going to win, but at the same time, you go, how are they going to do it LAN? So there's always that kind of big question last year. This year, I don't really have those concerns at all. But I think the bigger concern on like who's going to do good this year is that off spawn, right? It's like, is Pete Poyo going to be contested? If not, how good is Acorn and Poyo's team going to do ultimately? I feel like those are just the two big heavy hitters that most people have been talking about, and I think it's probably the easiest top two predictions generally. But as always with every global championships, there's like a few teams who just pop up and just do insanely well. Last year, of course, like Queasy Thomas made a run for it that was really, really good. And I think, you look at so many of the big teams this year that have been maybe not as good generally. Say like everyone's clowning EU. Basically what's happened really is that we stopped doing the podcast when EU started to look a little shaky. When NA started to be, when the conversation was there where you're like, NA could be a stronger region, we were just like, guys, we're just going to pack in this podcast. Let's dodge for a couple months until Globals comes up, and then we'll actually be able to see, right? But I don't think that means that a lot of the top EU teams are necessarily just going to stink it all up come Globals. No. But I don't think it necessarily is still easy to predict by any means, no.
I think this is one of the globals as well where it's very hard to feel the discrepancy of each region, right? Because we've got these big hitter teams coming in, right? Like Acorn Ages Poyo has been good, had a dudded season in season 2, but then were really good in season 3 again. Same with Pete. Pete's been consistent the entire year. And then you go into like OCE. Alex had like a world record tournament. Kyoto had a world record tournament in Asia. And then on EU, there's a very weird thing where a lot of the top teams are doing well. If you just don't look without context, like Vika Van Flixie, first, 5th, and then 2nd. And then I think Pixie Vanya Maris, I think 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, or 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, something like that as well. So the narrative of EU coming in poor is a bit of an interesting one. But at the same time, I think that's mainly just based off the fact that the Div Cups, I think people put a lot of stake into the Div Cups right now. And the Div Cups, honestly, just watching it, looked awful. Like, I don't know what the fuck's happening, whether it's the meta or teams just don't give a fuck anymore. It's just every team just crashes out to the absolute maximum. So I think the uncertainty comes from basically what the lobby quality is going to be like, right? So like I said, NA looked very stacked into the surge trading, people tagging, not a lot of fighting going on. EU, there's 62 players alive in the second game of Div Cup. On unforeseen circumstances. So if it's a very fighting heavy meta, then we can be looking at favorites from one region. If it's less fighting heavy region, it's like how prepared are these teams going to be for a meta shift? So I think the name of the game for this globals is adaptability, which it usually is, because like you have no clue what every region is going to do. But this one I feel like is the most relevant. It's like if there's a team that's very adaptable, I think they'll come out like closer to the top than others.
Yeah, and historically, I was just going to say, like, you just see the EU just filling up the top of the leaderboards. So, as much as everyone is obviously talking about, oh, you're not looking good. If I'm going to make predictions, which we will, I'm sure, I'm not putting an EU team first, right? Let's be real.
No.
But I'm probably going to put them 3rd to 10th,
Do we take that, though? Is that so fine?
That's what we've taken past couple of years, really. So
yeah.
Standard procedure, really. Before we get to EU NA bias, there will be room for that. Don't worry. I will ask these questions. It's interesting you guys sort of point out like adaptability, because I think that will be very important. I think the meta of the 2 days of globals will be very interesting to follow, because regionally, I think we've always had certain biases, right? Like certain region, like NA, especially when you compare NA and EU, right? Like, whether there's more fighting happening on EU and more searching happening on NA, or vice versa across, over the years or whatever. Like, there's always been these things, and eventually at globals, like one has to win, right? Like there has to be a way that works out. When you actually look right at the meta being played this season, when I think back to last year, and the teams that ended up doing really well, it really felt that like, obviously there were things that were unpredictable, but it felt like generally momentum and narrative of the year going into globals almost seemed to shine through in a big way. And so, you know, that's one thing I really want to pay attention to and focus on in my analysis over the course of the weekend is like, you know, I think back to last year, obviously you had Peterborough and Poyo, which is like the obvious one, right? Their domination through the year and that momentum coming in. But obviously seeing guys like Chapentini do really well, seeing guys like Vico and Flixie, who had obviously come off the back of like a really good major free, Ping and Wox had done really well. And these were like EU teams who again had just sort of like, you know, risen up, and same with Pete and Poyo. Even like when you look at the overperformance, you could argue, of Swizzy and Yapko, obviously Swizzy and, you know, Yapko having to fill and whatnot. Like when you look at these narratives of people who have had the momentum, who are the teams you guys sort of look at and go, based off of how this year has gone, we should expect these guys to perform, and truly you can see that happening?
I think the two big ones are the two that we've already mentioned that are, you know, the easiest high placings, which is going to be Pete's team and Poyo's team, I would say, to start with, if you look at just placements. I'm trying to think about EU teams generally. I don't care that much about momentum. I know, like, you know, you've just said that's a big analysis point you want to go forward with, but I feel like momentum in a tournament just tends to be so much bigger of a factor than momentum across a year or across a season or something like that. I feel like, you know, as soon as you start going on that first game, first three or something, or of course it's a 2-day tournament, so that first day goes well, I feel like that becomes much of a bigger factor than like how is the year gone or how is like the previous season or something. Because, you know, from memory, was, let's say, Queasy Thomas's, did they not stink it up last year outside of like the first season that they qualified, and then coming into globals were really good in it? My memory doesn't go back that far.
So they were an exception, but they were very much, they stunk in Cash Cups. Obviously, really good first season, and then, you know, they had the second season where I think that was the one where their meta got changed, like the cactuses or whatever. Or was that that was season 3? Sorry, Major 3 was the one, the cactuses. And then another season, I think they either did
triple con some.
They were triple, and they did really well. They were triple con and did really well. So they did really well in finals, generally throughout the year. But then bad in Cash Cups and stuff.
I feel like the idea of a lot of momentum that you would say actually just comes from the fact that like they're just the teams who play the best in globals in that in a grand finals style lobby generally. You know, like. You look at momentum of, say, Teeny that you mentioned that was going well, but like they just did the same thing for 3 seasons in a row, and it just worked really well. And I don't know how much you could play momentum into that, whereas just like the metas and the team modes, who you're landing with, your strengths just continue to line up over and over. And then you see, say, a switch to trios, and you see for those players or some of those players that, you know, that momentum isn't carried because it's just such a different scenario of different teammates you're playing with, you know, again, trios instead of duos, all that kind of stuff. So I think when you're looking at momentum across this year, I look at the teams who've just consistently played well in grands, and I go, well, how are they going to look? Like Fordoxy's team, last 2 seasons, fantastic, you know, especially without needing a huge amount of surge trading. You know, Pete's team, Acorn and Poyo's team, you know, you genuinely looking at the teams who've consistently done well, Vanya's team as well, and you go, well, they're probably the ones I'm going to already just pick up.
Yeah, I don't want you to misunderstand what I meant by momentum. Like you sort of described what I was talking about towards the end there, right? It's not it's not momentum in that, like, because you're right, like tournament to tournament, season to season, when there's meta shifts, right? Like things, you know, are different, and it's about the momentum across the 2 days for sure. But when I was talking about momentum, I'm talking about what you highlight there, like a team like Fordoxy's trio, where it's like coming to season 2, they have a really hot season, but they've actually just shown like, oh no, they're really good. Like they've have a good understanding of how to play the game this year, right? Like that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about momentum.
Yeah,
I think Fordoxy's team's a good example of that. Then definitely.
Yes and no for that though, because Fordoxy's team has been really good in FNCSs, but then it's just a question of how much stake these teams put into the divisional cups and the eval cups. Unfortunately, I have to mention eval cups, but how much stake do they actually put into these tournaments, right? Because you know, in NA, it's been Pete versus Poyo pretty much, and the Canada won the last one. We've only had 3 tournaments so far, but that's pretty much been the question of Pete versus Poyo, and the Canada won the last one, so they got that big hype. Do they really see that as like, oh wow, we're looking good going into globals? Then versus the EU teams, where we've had Queasy win one, Vico and Afflixi win the last one, but that Venno literally tweeted out mid-tournament like, "Wow, EU sucks," like in reference to just maybe just like the way that everyone's playing with the lobby quality of how inconsistent everyone is. And then I think the first one was won by. I don't remember who the first Div Cup was won by. I don't know. But essentially, right, like there's been an unbelievable amount of inconsistency on the EU side versus the NA side, right? And then you can make the conversation, if you're slightly more EU biased, like, okay, doesn't that indicate of how hard EU is? Maybe you could say that, right? But that's also a question of do players think in that way, right? Like, is that the mentality they're going into? Is like, oh, don't worry, guys, we did badly because everyone in the EU is good. Well, maybe not, like maybe some of the other teams aren't doing great, but like the two biggest ones have been Sharks Trio that did well at the top in EU, and then Skyscore and Sandguild. Which were, I guess, both teams that were like favorites to qualify globals anyways. So I think the stake of that and thinking, okay, how are they going to approach that is a big one. Also, team mentality, you can see teams like Vico and Afflixi internally having their issues. And even though they've had some of the best average placements in EU this season, they're a team that, if you look at it on the inside, obviously we don't see that much, but you can, you hear the whisperings, you see the tweets out there. Internally, they feel very broken as a team, Similarly to, the other teams that just haven't just been doing good just in the tournaments leading up to it. So in the question of momentum, I think for that, just what is the mentality like, right? And for me, I think divisional cups don't really matter as much, right? As much as people put stake into it, and you can make your predictions based on the divisional cups. But you can see majority of the time for these teams, maybe other than Queasy's trio this season, or like during FNCS's, they've just showed up. And you'd have to think that that's sort of the same case for the LAN, right? So in the case of NA, those guys are coming in with confidence because they've been dominating the region. In the case of EU, you just have to expect that they're going to show up because that's what they do during FNCSs.
Really interesting. I definitely think it's harder for people to read this year. At least when I'm thinking back to the conversations we had last year, I think it's harder for people to read the current level of certain teams.
Yeah.
Going into this year's global championship. When we're looking at it, there's a lot of really good teams who are, uncontested off spawn. At least as of now, we know these things can change because they changed last year before globals, right? When you're looking at a lot of the teams, whether they're NA teams, EU teams, uncontested, who are some of the teams you guys look at and you go on the map, right? Looking at their situation on the map, things look really good. Whether or not everything will pan out and things will play out and be good for them, like who are the ones you're looking at and you're like, their situation is like optimal. Like I'd want to be in their situation going into the weekend.
I mean, there's so many you could point out to start with. I think the biggest one where I'm looking at the map straight away is just Vanya, like Pixie Marius, like fully uncon. You've got Canada's team to your left, the freest trading of all time. And we know like how their strat usually ends up with that. Same thing you say with iDrop, Harry, and Cammy over to the east. Like they have Seti, Yapko, Panzer to their south if they win the off spawn against the OCE boys. They also still have Pix, Dimush, Darm southwest of them. They have like the whole Surge trading corner looking good. They have Peterbot's team nearby who, they're triple conned currently on the map. However, you could sit and say either that fight's going to be over quick or after they win the fight off spawn, in globals, they're still going to set up a base and look for tags. So there's still going to be trading going wrong in that bottom right corner. Anyone there is looking good for trading. Who else we got kicking about? I mean, currently, obviously, it looks like Vico and Afflixi are looking good uncontested, but obviously there's been a lot of questions whether the Japanese team's going to land on them or not. But yeah, I mean, honestly, most of the big teams are looking good off spawn.
What was it called last year? Like, remember the NA teams? It was like Batman Booger Rapid, Backup Pass, and then there was another team.
Triangle?
It was like, but what was it? It was a triangle of something, or it was like the Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda Triangle.
Is that what they were calling it?
Bermuda Triangle. Because if you entered the Bermuda Triangle, you were fucking dead. You'd all just get targeted by 3 sentries just waiting on the towers all the time. So
have we been calling the Polish Bermuda Triangle this year?
The Polish Square, usually.
Polish Square.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I mean,
because the Sharks trio usually lands at Dystopia. So there's another Polish team that lands in Div Cup finals usually. So
Come on, guys. It can't be this obvious. Come on, come
I mean,
on.
I mean,
Come
you
on,
can.
guys. We
You
can.
can.
This is like I'm telling you, I cannot wait to open up a Syrian after this and look through the games and look through the surge locations. I just can't wait. I just want to see it. I want to see
Yeah.
those big red spots where they're gonna be. Side note, I want to see if Epic will do anything on LAN about it. But anyway, that's not a conversation we'll get into right now.
Well, they come out with the fucking referee like the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I
Stop the
did have
count!
someone.
Like-
I did have someone message me, jokingly saying they're going to walk on stage with an air horn, and anytime someone's trading, they're just going to like
That'd be great.
But yeah,
That'd be great.
either way, yeah, there's a lot of people who I think are set up really well. I think if you look at the map, you might think set up well is like Swizzy Queasy Murstache in the Hive.
Yeah, let's give like a this will naturally be misconstrued by any out of context clippers, but let's give like a top 3 ranking of situations. Like, who are the best 3 situations on the map, we reckon?
Do we care about where these people will place on the leaderboard?
No. So not the execution of the position, just like your spot paired with like the teams around you and like just how we think that sets up versus other teams.
Number 1, I think, is gotta be number 1 and 2. I'll put in mine. I'm sure Boop can add this. It's got to be Pix Demush Darm. The trading opportunities they have are unbelievable and something they've been used to all season from their dot spot. And then I've got to think it's Vanya Marius Pixie with Canada's team to the left of them. Like that's and especially Click's team up to the northwest, if they're gonna trade or not, depends how that's gonna go. If they go to like maybe trade with Swizz and Queasy instead. But I think Pix Demush Darm in the Polish corner. And then Vanya Marius Pixie always find a spot. I was looking through other teams. I was thinking maybe Agers, Acorn, Poyo, but I'm looking at the teams around them, and you've got like a Middle Eastern team to their west, people who aren't super like familiar with surge trading comparatively, and then you have Alex's team, the OCE team, to their south, and the chance. So yeah, I don't know exactly what their surge strat is going to be off the rip, but they don't have the best teams around them personally. So I think top 2's got to be Vanya's team, and then Pix's team.
You seem to disagree there a bit, but
I'm completely on the opposite side of the spectrum here. I feel like the most obvious pick is a Swizzy Queasy Murstache. No, like the only medallion spot that's fully uncontested, which gives them access to literally all the bunkers on the map. So I mean, this is kind of the discussion that a lot of people have had based off of how Swizzy Queasy Murstache have been doing in EU this season, right? Because they haven't been doing too hot. They won the Div Cups this week. We're like, okay, they're back. But like in terms of FNtasia, the performances haven't been perfect yet so far. Most notably, obviously, Demon's Domain last season where they dominated Malibuca. So this is kind of the big one for them, is like how good can Queasy Swizzy Murstache do with this spot? Because I would say this is the best spawn situation out of any team in globals, I think, right? Especially because Dystopia City now means that the coin is being shifted from left to right. So you're basically not guaranteed level A anymore if you're Aegis, Poyo, and Acorn. Not that you were without a few knocks and eliminations, but now you're pretty much not going to get the bunkers 50% of the time. Well, they say it's 50% of the time, but
we're gonna disagree because as much as it's a great off spawn for them, there are so many contested teams around them, which historically you would think would be good. But if some of them need to go and loot somewhere else, like they're gonna cut into Swizzy's loot path and cut off something. And there's so much in the Hive that it's not that big of an issue. But like, if you're going to look at a spot to con and take like some loot off and split, like that's going to be the one you're going to do it. Secondly, if teams are smart, they're just going to steal the queen from you. Like it's going to happen. It's going to happen some games, and you're going to lose out on that opportunity. And then you've got some of the teams around you. Maybe like Click's team, you've got Canada's team around, Phaser's team. There's so many other teams around them that can just set up to like just literally yoink that every single game if they want to remove that. So I think the problem that I've had with the Hive the whole season is the fact that it's so third partyable. Like no matter how well you set up, you can super easily get third partied in there. So if they manage to do some sort of good setup from there and don't get keyed 12 out of 12, I'll be very impressed.
Yeah, I don't think there's much option to key because the Savage spawn fight is probably not going to be able to. I don't think the Savage spawn fight to the north is a 50-50. Essentially, because most south bus paths, you literally cannot glide for that bug tower or you get killed there by Queasy's trio because they land so early. So, like, it ends up being somehow split left and right if they manage to figure it out that way. When they do inevitably start fighting, I think Queasy's Immerse is there in that situation. To the south, I think it's like the most obvious Brazil team teaming. FaZe P is going to probably land on the left side, third party FNtasia trio, and then Gebzer is going to play bitch mode and land on the right side plus the mountain potentially because Canada doesn't take the mountain as much either, and then they're going to split it. So like I think the way that the map currently displays it, I don't think is indicative of what exactly is going to happen. If I have to guess, which puts Squizzy Queasy Mercedes in the right situation. The thing about the Queen thing. I don't know if you've ever played League of Legends, but like you just gotta smite that bitch, you know.
Don't know what that means.
Essentially, like there's an ability in League where you do like 900 damage to one of the bosses, so you can insta kill it, so no one can steal it. So that's basically what you just gotta do. You just gotta triple pump that bitch in the face right before it goes down, so that no one can steal that level up from you. I'm sure there's something they thought about. Queezy's also a League of Legends player, so I'm sure he's thought about that as well. With team stealing it, like okay, guys, we got a triple pump in the face, 3, 2, 1, bang, and then you can't get it stolen. Other teams on the map, other than Squizzy Queasy Mustache, that I guess I do agree with Reese here. I think Vanya Pixie Mare is probably in one of the better spots, one of the biggest, I think, chests. What's the opposite of deficiency? Efficiencies? Like abundance. Oh,
abundance.
Yeah, there's an overabundance of chests that they have.
Okay, yeah, overabundance.
Yeah, they have an overabundance of chests at the spot, plus a mountain situation. And that looks good for them. Clix, Gigs, and Yomzo are a little bit PTSD from last season's FNCS in terms of surge trading. So now they're going to overly surge trade. Canada Bolts and Rapid also there. I disagree with your Aegis Akon Poyo take because I think they're in one of the best spots as well because Pigs, Dom, and Demish are very high in surge trading. Malibuka does get a little bit freaky, but most of the time he will just commit to surge trading here as well. And 5-old FKS and Hero have actually been in EU for the last 2 weeks playing EU scrims. So they're quite well enveloped, I think, into the surge trading matters on that mountain as well. And then obviously Visual Blades and Minish are like completely they're completely in the surge trading meta as well because they're used to doing that with them from last seasons as well, and they're like literally the most passive team in NA. So I think Aegis Core, Eco, and Vanya Piximers and Swizzy Quizzy Merce is probably the best spots on the map right now, just in terms of expectation for how well they should be doing, in my opinion.
I think both lists are fair. I'd say the discrepancy between you two with Pix and Acorn's team is interesting because when I look at the area of the map, the way it's sort of progressed throughout the year, and it's been slightly different on NA, I think. But on EU, at least, the way it's progressed is like at the start of the year in the south area of the map, like people were trying to trade at the start of the year and it was hard. And so they were like, shit, we have to fight. And then the same thing happened the next season, but there was a bit less. It was like you could still we had to fight, but like we could still trade a fair bit, especially if you were like one of the teams closer to where Seaport was, right? Which is why I sort of get what you're saying, Reese, in terms of like I think options wise, if you're Pix team in Dust, you're slightly better if you're in a situation where they're gonna have to do a lot more trading. But I also understand if you're like Acorn, Aegis Poyo, the loot, the potential to have the boss, even if it's not as much. All those things working against each other, I think, are interesting. We never talk much about the smaller regions, and we always get people asking us about them, right? When you look at the map, which smaller region team do you think is in the best situation? Obviously, when you look at Asia and you look at OCE, you got two teams coming off the back of like record-breaking seasons in terms of Coyote's trio and Alex's trio. Obviously, in Coyote, it's been a year since he sort of really broke out and showed everyone on the global stage, I am one of the best Fortnite players in the world. Where are we looking with some of these non-EU and NA teams?
I mean, you've got to take Coyote's team on to add to the fact that they've also been coached by Sven. I don't know for the whole year, but for most of the year. Like a lot of that record-breaking performance is because they actually just played, a quote-unquote perfect gameplay style where, sit, get tags, don't be super aggressive, kind of, the basic like good Fortnite. But again, if you watch that gameplay, which I did, it was, the players they're getting tags on are not going to get the opportunity to do that at the Global Championships. Were they not contested off spawn, they would be the easy pick for me, I would say. But fighting Chap, Savage and Reason, like I don't know if Muzz's team is going to third party them every single game. I don't see that going well. If they fight Veno's team instead, similar story. They don't have an uncontested drop, so it's hard to say. For Alex's team, they would probably be my second pick, but I don't know how confident I am with them being uncontested. Like I almost feel like I'd be the opposite way around, where if they were contested off spawn, I feel like they might have a higher chance of winning that fight and having like a bit of surge to start with. And they're positioned right at the bottom of the map with everyone that we've talked about trading in different positions up above. They are so split across such a huge part of the bottom of the map with what might be very questionable rotations and positions for surge. I'm just not sure I can, in good faith, say they're in like a good spot to do it at all. So I don't know. I'm still probably just going to go with Coyote's team if they manage to get like a good off spawn and then maybe win a mid game fight. In particular, maybe push Snowy's team, who's like further to the east of them, like the other Middle East team or something like that. If they manage to disengage, I don't know. It's a lot of the small region teams aren't necessarily set up for success in my eyes.
No. It was looking good though when before Baka Pause and Pump were going to contest Adapter, Mansur, and Balor. So that spot's actually really one of the best spots on the map. I mean, there's a reason that Southpaw, where resigns Alex and Ain on a landing, has been uncontested on this map for like the better portion of like 3 to 4 weeks. You know, like no one wanted it. Said he tried to land on it, played one scrim session, said fuck this, went to the gas station split, and now eventually ended up at Kappa Kappa. So yeah, there's good reason why that is fully uncontested. And there's not much like opportunity for them to like, if they are one of the better fighting teams from like the smaller regions, there's not much opportunity for them to show it, right? Because like, who are you going to fight? Malibuka? Are you going to crash pad on the mountain where Vika and Afflixi can pad on you as well? Like, there's not really options for like outplaying or anything cooking there. So I'd be very surprised to see them do well from that spot. I'll be surprised to see them actually land there. Like Loki, there just feels like they're going to do something else than land at that spot and be mediocre. Because why would you want to do that after the globals they had last year as well, right? So
yeah, like I hope I'm end up being wrong because I'm a big fan of Alex. But when you look at like that spot, it's so easy to get it wrong just off of timing alone, right? Like because you have to just be elsewhere. Like you can't be there for long. And do I trust a non-EU or any team to get that detail right in like at the global championships across 12 games? I'm gonna say no. So I think they're gonna have I think this will be a team where like their games will look very different across the 12 games. Like they might have 3 games that look vastly different in terms of what they're trying to do, you know, across like the 12 games. Because yeah, it's gonna be quite awkward for them. So I guess are we saying by default our small region champion is Coyote, even though their situation isn't optimal because they're contesting?
Well, I didn't pick Coyote. I actually forgot to pick my team.
Who would you pick
yours.
I mean, I think I have to pick Hero 5-0 and FKS. Just like they're not gonna get fucked with, I think, on that mountain, right? They're the team that can do the fucking, I think, on resigns Alex and Aiden on this situation, but I don't think they're the team that's really gonna get like. I think a lot of people have their expectations on them low because they think that Aegis, Poyo, Akon is just gonna key them the mountain of Vika and Afflixi, which they might. You know, there's games where Vika and Afflixi are gonna crash pad or launch pad on their heads if they're doing badly. But my expectation for Vika and Afflixi is that they're just gonna trade surges, focus, mixing up all the whole time, and that worked for them last Div Cup as well. So in terms of like uncontested situation, they're on the mountain with 3 teams that want to trade with them. You know, 2 teams very much want to trade with them, Visuals and Aegis team. So like the surge part for them, I think is sorted. I think that's the hardest part for some of these smaller teams. And like I said, they've been playing EU scrims for like the last 2 weeks as well. They went early, so they seem pretty dedicated. The Coyote things, like yes, Coyote's team could do well, but realistically, they're probably going to end up landing Canyon. And then they're just going to get conned and then third-partied by Heroes team as well, right? So in both situations, looks up for Heroes team regardless. And I think we're looking at Coyote a little bit too much with the TikTok glasses here. You know, the 8 out of 12 is great and it's amazing, but when the lights are bright, you know, things are different.
I don't know if I'm being marinated because Boop is now obviously Middle East, right? He is out. Like we don't acknowledge that enough. Like he had
to get that government grant for some tournaments. Come on now.
And this team's the best of both worlds because they're Middle East team who's also playing on EU. So it's like it's gotten all of Boop's. You know, it's tickling all.
It's making me tingle. Yep.
You
but
mentioned
Boop, you are
scrims. They're playing
selling me.
noble scrims.
They're playing
Noble
noble as well, you know.
scrims. Yep.
Yeah.
Boop is selling me towards his side here. So Reese, you look like you wanted to say something. This is your chance to sway me back to
my
your
time
side.
to say this is I'm yet to see a Middle East team come on the bottom out of the bottom 10 in globals. Right?
That's also very valid.
That is very valid analysis.
But here's my counterpoint, Reese.
Hold on, no, I have more. I have more to add.
They've been playing against cheaters the whole chapter, so they're ready.
These players specifically have been in the bottom 10 from memory. Some of them I can't actually remember, to be honest, because you just see Middle East team, and unfortunately, I'm usually just like, well, I know where they're going in my predictions. I do think it's set up well for them. That is great. What I'm interested in seeing for this team is if they actually get their surge down, right? This could be the first time in 4 years that we have a Middle Eastern team with a surge strategy that works. Okay,
just with one.
Just with one.
This is the one. This is the one.
So I'm on the hype train. I'm with you. I want to see it. I'm not saying I'm going to see it. But I want to see it.
Okay.
Because I'm every single year I want to see the hype. I want to see a Middle East team do good. I do love making the bottom 10 joke that was when it was duos, it was bottom 10. We might have to change that to a little bit now that this is going to be a trio land, right? But I still think we're going to see off spawn like enough. Or if Coyote's team does 50-50 and fight off spawn in that assumption, you get enough wins off spawn, do it quickly. They're gonna have a good surge strategy. I'm not worried about that working with Sven. They're gonna be teaming with someone. I'm sure. It's just the way that it is. So it's not a TikTok brain. I refuse the TikTok analysis on this. This is using my eyes and seeing the only players from a small region who've actually done something well, and seeing the success that they put in even more work over the year. And sure, the off spawn might not be perfect, but I have faith.
You're just being marinated by the montages, man. Open up, wake up.
Oh yes, oh yes. And it could be both. You know, you've been sports washed. I've been TikTok washed.
hey, relax, chill,
guys. Okay. Look, to wrap up our smaller region conversation here, let's play a game somewhat. And this is for you guys watching and listening to join in as well.
Who gets last place?
No, that could be the game as well. But
the small region game.
On a more positive note, what is the highest placing non-EU or NA team? And when I say NA, I mean Central and West.
Oh, you're putting West into that.
Just because of backup powers and pump, because I rate them. But let's say, what's the highest rated? What's the position?
I was gonna say, do you want the team or the position?
Not. We don't have to do the team. You have to do the team. Okay. Just what will be the position of the highest placing non-EU and NA team?
I would like to say 10th, maybe 11th. You know, something around there, around like the top third. I could see a team, you know, doing well enough across the top 2 days to get into that kind of spot. You know, we've seen it a few times before with Brazilian teams and Invitational. You know, you see like the odd team pop up and down. Like, was it last year, the year before, that the Asia team did really well? I can't remember.
They won. They were in like 8th or something.
Were they still not?
Well, they might have been higher.
Was it the year before that? I can't. I need to look at the leaderboards either way.
Last year there was an Asian team who was like in the top 10 on day one, and then they just fell off the cliff. They might have been.
I think maybe that was the year before. Yeah, I need to look at all the leaderboards. I can't remember. So I think top 10. I think that's solid. Because also in trios, remember, top 10 is basically only, you know, it's not like a top 10 in duos. It's still like a top third of the leaderboard.
It's top 15 in duos, yeah.
Massive. Exactly. So I think top 10 is where we're going to see the best small region team.
See, I'm a little bit low on the leaderboard here because I just counted good teams, and I see a lot of good teams that are probably just going to place well, even if they're contested and uncontested mainly. So I'm going to do like 14th, I think, for my pick.
That's fair.
That's a good number.
This is your game, but you're participating.
Well, yeah. Well, before I asked you the question, and I asked it because I was thinking about it, right? And in my head, I was like, 11th was where I was thinking. Because I see, like, I'm with you, Reese, and like, I could see a team being just on the cusp of like that third. I think when you look at last year, if you're doing the same game last year, the highest one was 17th or 16th, like around that range, right?
In duos, or if you convert it to trios?
In duos. Like if you convert it to trios, like it was like
Okay.
16, 17, right? If you're looking at it from like a third perspective.
Yes,
I
yeah,
guess,
yeah.
Awkward, yeah.
Midway through the leaderboard.
Yeah. But I also like, I think a lot of it will just be about just what the meta looks like, right? In terms of just like how are people actually playing the game, which, as silly as it sounds, like we don't really know until the game start a lot of the time. Like you know in certain areas of the map, but like across the lobby, like things change. I'm gonna lock in 11th. I'm gonna lock in 11th.
We're just prices right at Reese.
Look, everyone's yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. You know, everyone else thinks we're small region haters, and me in particular, which is funny because I talk about them so often and do every region stuff. Yeah, I am the most optimistic in this call. I'm the most optimistic about a small region team.
But like what? Like also though, like it is just globals. So like, what if a team just gets like 7th? Like, what if a Brazil team just gets like 7th?
It could,
you know. Yeah, like that wouldn't. That also just would like. I also would be like, oh, you know, fair enough.
Buy it, you know, like it's gonna happen. Yeah,
that's one of the
2
reasons
days of
why
tournament.
Yeah, that's because like especially like King's team being in NA for a season, they've not looked like the best team, but they've had a lot more experience and they've had a lot of good placements there, which gives me much more hope than if they just played Brazil for the whole year.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Let us know in the comment section what will be the highest placement, and if you want to throw in the team that you think it's going to be as well, feel free to do that. We've not spoken much about off-spawn situations. There's a couple big ones we got to talk about. Obviously, one closer to home in EU between Chino, Pablo, Fred, and Haris, Tayson, Chicho. Obviously, what's going on with Peterbot, and then of course another one that's somewhat close to home in our boy Mr. Savage playing in Trap and Reason, and Rise Yuma Coyote. Obviously, Boop, you sort of broke down why you think maybe that might go a bit differently depending on some of the bus paths and whatnot.
Yep.
But when we look at the big EU hitters going head to head, I'm gonna start with you, Boop. What is your temperature feeling around how Chino, Pablo, Fred versus Haris, Tayson, and Chicho goes?
Well, essentially, this is a battle of who has more money to bribe the referees at blast. Can we sneak in a macro through the PC check here potentially? I'm trying to see why I didn't get invited to globals right now. But essentially, that's been the conversation. If you've been watching my streams during the finals and the Evo Cup finals when they've been contesting each other in 2 different situations. The first time they competed and they conned each other, it was obviously the Tayson 5-0. In that, Fedoxy and his teammates were in my chat saying, this motherfucker's macroing. 4 weeks later, the first time Fred made to the final together with Tayson once more, it was a Fred 5-1. Tayson in the chat, this motherfucker's macroing. So that's been pretty much the cope for both teams here is like who's got the better macro on the chests. My temperature, my heat check here in terms of the actual fighting that's been going on. Yeah, I feel like I kind of have to give it to Fedoxy's team a little bit more than Tayson's team, just off the basis that they've had a little bit more history and been good off spawn historically. I don't think the spawn fighting aura that everyone gives them is like as justified. Like, yes, they've been very good. They beat Venovica Flixie, but Venovica Flixie left because they just wanted to do better. It wasn't worth contesting multi-millionaire Fedoxy. And then the other team that they had was obviously Savage's team, and then Savage's team obviously they weren't that great at the start of the season, and now have blossomed into a butterfly and are looking a lot better. So those are pretty much the 2 main things. Just the fact that Fedoxy is just well known for being someone that helps people off spawn. So I think this slightly leans towards Fedoxy's side, in my opinion. The Fedoxy also made the cope that they haven't been practicing that much because they haven't been able to find practice partners, which, like whatever that means, we can't find someone to practice against. I'm like, why don't you just practice against like a top 200 team? They're like, yeah, but that's not good practice. Well, okay. Well, I feel like some practice is better than no practice in this situation, but maybe I'm wrong here. And then Tayson has pretty much been under the radar. We haven't seen them play any scrims. They've been quite quiet. It does feel like Tayson's revenge this season. Not much caring that much about placing, but just trying to, do a little bit of griefing or something. So maybe that motivates him a little bit more. But yeah, I'd say Fred. Fred probably takes it a little bit more than Tayson's trio, just off the fact that I think they will have better preparation. And, if they are having their practice partners in Vanya, Pixie, Maris, that's slightly better practice than probably what Tayson's going to be going off against in Spawn, if I had to guess. So.
I agree with that pretty much 100%. But the only thing I have to add to that on that spawn fight in particular is that this is the kind of spawn fight that you ideally want to have if you're off spawn, where it's quick. It's just over. Like even the long ones are not that long in comparison to like some other fights. So for all of the teams that are around that have the potential to third party, like a lot of the times that fight can be over fast enough. Sure, like Vico Venoflixi can push in with still an advantage, which they did in this week's Div Cup, last week I can't remember, in some of the Div Cups I've watched. But at least it's not like a long drawn out fight, say like that Seti's team might be having against like the OCE boys, like Kazi's team. It's just relatively 50-50 the way they have been playing it, or at least it was the first week when I watched Fred get pooed on. I didn't see how it was this week. Yeah, I didn't see how it was this week.
It was 5-1 to Fred this week.
Yeah, was that still just 50-50s?
Yeah, so Fred's made it quite a point to say, like, we could extend the spawn fight if you wanted to, but, like, what's the point? And I'd rather just 50-50 and get it over with. And Tayson seems to be doing that as well. So both of them, at least, like, I guess this is different to, like, when you do, like, E versus NA spawn, or, like, E versus Japan, or NA versus whatever region, right? These guys both have the mutual understanding, like, all right, we're going to be griefing each other, but might as well not make it unbelievably grief. So, like, at least someone wins in this situation.
Hey, like, if say they win 6-6, right? It's even across the board. At least there's a potential for good games. That's kind of the point. That's where I'm going with that, right? Like, obviously, they can still get third party and it can still go wrong. Depends, but at least there is the potential. So you can see that both of those teams, like if either of those teams is in the top 10, top half, I'm not surprised at all. Even if they win like 6, like each 6 or something like that, like you can have plenty of good games off that situation. I'm also interested in seeing day 2 for this spawn fight, more importantly, because was it last Grands or the Grands before that? I can't remember, where Tayson's team swapped drop spawn halfway through. They left, and then did so much better on day 2. So I do wonder if, like, say Fortnite team is winning so much on the first day, and there's like a weaker team they could potentially land on and do a different strat from. I do wonder if Tayson's team swaps, or because I see, let's be real, I see Fortnite just landing there every game, even if they're not doing well. But I do see Tayson's team moving potential on day 2 if they're getting slapped about a little bit. So I think, in some ways, I think this is kind of even though it's 2 big teams that we don't want to see contested on spawn, it's almost like this is the best case scenario for a contested fight, unless it was edge map or something,
Yeah. Okay. The next thing I'll ask you guys when it comes to off spawn is, what do we think ends up happening with Ritual, Cold, and Pete? And does it affect their ability to go out and win the global championships significantly?
I mean,
yes.
You don't have 3 teams landing there 12 over 12. No. That's just, I think, can we all agree that's a fact? There's not going to be 3 teams landing there 12 or 12.
I don't even think there's going to be 3 teams landing there 1 out of 12. I don't. I feel like people are too. The number one thing I always get on my stream is, oh my god, they said they're never leaving. Bro, if they're leaving, I would be a millionaire if I got $1 for every single time someone said that. Like, bro, they tweeted, bro, they said they're never leaving, man. Like no, that there is a world where they leave. I feel like this is the most. I mean, this will probably age poorly, but I feel like this is the most obvious victory epic or paper dip I've ever seen. Like, NA teams are quite used to being conditioned, especially by Pete. They got fucking smoked last week as well, 6-0'd. The Asia team's got a little bit more of a rivalry with Peterborough because of the Asia Div Cup finals. I don't know how emotional they are, but also their chances of landing somewhere else, I feel like they just probably won't do it. And maybe they have the same indication that, hey, Epico is probably going to leave. So maybe we could find a world where we split Dystopia in some sort of manner and then get the loot and run away.
Is that something that you, like, sorry to cut you off, but, like, like, for example, like last year, right, when it was like, was it Frets landing at the other
Swizzy's team and
Swizzy's team and Frets, like, figuring that out with those guys is like a bit easier than like figuring it out with like how does that
Yeah.
conversation go with Peterbot like DMing them like, yo guys, all right, it's only us two here now, like you guys take this side. Like I feel like that doesn't work as
It
easily.
probably happened with Peterbot in this case because it's a weaker region team. So, but I think like you could. I mean, it's not very splittable, but like you land some of the south buildings, you could extend the fight out. I don't think it's going to be a quick 50-50, if I'm being honest. They do have the benefit though of having quite passive teams around them in Kami and then Pixdom and Dimush. But that also just depends on where Pixdimush and Dom want to land on the bug spot. I think they're just going to take the bug spot. I think Malibuka said he either sometimes takes, or at least from the Div Cups, he hasn't landed there either. So I think he's content with that. So Pixdom and Dimush land on the bug spot to the south. The third party isn't there. Kami's not going to third party. He's going to be peeking over the corner. And I guess maybe Vanya Pixie Maris is the only one. So if it changes the fact of winning, yes, absolutely. Is there a chance of winning higher now at Dystopia City than it was contesting at OXR? 100%. I think I could see the vision of them winning now from this spot if it's single contested. I don't see the vision of them winning from OXR base just because it doesn't feel as good and doesn't feel as right. And like Pete's team only needs 8 games, you know? Like let's be honest.
Yeah.
8 games, like they can do it relatively easily. Not easily, but like, you know, they could do it in 8. 7 games, you know, it gets a little bit harder. 6 games, okay, probably impossible. So if they beat that threshold of 7 to 8 games in total, yes, absolutely, Peterbot's team can win. As much as I hate to say it, it just depends on Pete's form. You know, that's it. Like, it's like the single most impactful player in any of these trios is like, let's be honest, if Pete didn't solo clutch twice in duo globals last year, they wouldn't have won. You know, they didn't play that well in that global championships. So if Pete is on fucking form and he's playing primed, that's going to be the difference. Like it's literally all about Pete here, main character.
Reese?
I agree. Yeah, no, I fully agree.
Agreement?
I totally agree. I feel like with the with Raito's team there, I do think if it just ends up being Raito and Peterbot, it's going to be the same thing as Global's last year scenario where it's like, yeah, we take this bit, you take that bit. If that happens, though, I'm interested in seeing where Peterbot's team has to go from there, because if they don't get the medallion, or the queen spawn there, the 50% queen spawn, then they're probably not going to get enough rank to get to the bunker, to get metal, to get a bunch more loot. But, you know, last year where they could split because they could go to a bunker, they could go to mid-game objectives and, you know, do all that stuff. This time, I'm like, if you split that, I just don't know what their plan is after that, because looking at around them, it's like, okay, are you going to W key Visuals team and a Minish team? Probably not. You're going to W key Kanada's team. You're going to W key Marius's team. You know, it's like you look at the circle of everyone around you, and if you know you don't have a great loot situation of spawn and you've had to split, it's like I don't know what the options are for them after that. So the split, I feel it's almost better if they fight off spawn and no one third parties, which is obviously a hypothetical, but if they can get that early elim and move out, that'd be great. I haven't actually looked at the drop spot since it's changed that much yet, so I don't know like how better or worse it is now. But what I want to ask is, where do you think, if Epic Whale does leave, where's he going to go?
Ooh,
because
yeah, I mean that's the tough part. Is like, where do you go, right?
Yeah,
I think the weak. I mean, the most obvious feels like Outlaw. Right? Not Outlaw, sorry. Outlaw Oasis. Yeah, that's what it's called. The spot's so shit. I don't even know the names. Yeah, I think Oasis feels like the most obvious. Like, there is availability and room to land like the south side of Oasis and get away with some things there. Especially because I've seen Focus Mix and Upwell land on like that north part as like solos before. Like, I think there's enough loot there where you can get away with it. And then if you really want to feel frisky, you can just fight Strike, get Disco, and Kadu there as well, which are the Brazil FNtasia winners. So I think that feels like the most obvious play. Maybe there's another team that's surprised calling something, you know, like Clix Higgs and Yomzo. You know, their spot just got completely nerfed. They don't have the slingshot anymore. The drones got moved. Maybe there's a world where they land OXR, and maybe Epic knows that, and they're just gonna go Supernova Academy. You know, like the things like that could easily happen. So
sure,
either Striker or they another team they know is gonna leave because, you know, they love talking to each other, and then they'll just land where they're landing.
I'm trying to think as well. I can't remember, and I don't have any of the NA maps from this season, but I feel like Paper has spent a lot of this year just being contested anyway, if I'm remembering correctly. But maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. But either way, I think for them, I agree that they will probably just do it because I think for them, like, they'll be fine. Like, I think they are fine with the understanding that they might have to con, you know? Like, I think, like, that's fine for them. I think they seem like the kind of team that's like, yeah, we'll figure it out, you know? Like, it is what it is. Like, it's better than here. I will say, like, last year, Pete and Pollo Defo had a couple more like farmable teams around them, right? When they got in. Obviously, there was the whole thing on the second day of them like running into trouble because there was nobody around because nobody wanted to get farmed.
What?
Reese disappeared.
Just teleported.
Okay.
I'm sliding down.
Oh,
how do I turn this?
This is brilliant.
There we go.
Oh god, you're upside down.
He's upside down. Oh, brilliant. All right. Anyway,
wait.
shout out to the YouTube viewers.
Guys, this is why FNtasia wasn't here. We ran out of budget, guys.
Yeah, budget's low right now. Bro's got to hold this.
Am I still upside down right now?
Yes.
You are still upside down,
Oh,
which
okay,
is great. Honestly, I love it. It's great.
Oh, no, there we go. We're good.
Nice.
From watching them this season, Cold has been playing at an unbelievable level, and I think a lot of people forget that last year, like, Cold has been very good at lands. Obviously, last year was tough because he got sick, right?
Yeah.
And so day 2, he was really sick, and they were obviously contested or spawned last year by Andalex and Sato. So I definitely resonate with the thing of, like, I think if Cold is playing how he's currently playing and he doesn't get sick, and Peterbot is Peterbot, like, if he rises to the occasion as we kind of would expect him to, I think these guys are going to be really tough to beat. Let us know what you think happens in the comment section below. Will it be straightforward? Before we wrap up, there is one other thing one other angle I wanted to sort of get your guys' thoughts on. We don't have to go into too much depth about it, but last year, going into it, not that many people were as high on Queasy and Thomas's chances. Not just because of, you know, how things had maybe gone in cash cups and whatnot, but, you know, looking at the map, a lot of people were obviously sleeping on them because they were landing at that split bottom right. You know, it was a bit of an extremity. It didn't look as strong. Obviously, it ended up working out based off how the meta played because they were able to trade a bunch, blah, 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 blah. If we have to get creative, and I'm going to ask you guys to get creative in your mind, which team could that be in terms of the team who maybe were sleeping on their situation a bit? Maybe the situation doesn't look as great on paper, right? They're not a team we'd rank in the top 3 in terms of situations, but, you know, the talent is there. There's a level of experience or pedigree, or maybe you just rate them from what you've seen them do, you know, in the server at times throughout the years. And maybe they're just going a bit under the radar, and they shouldn't be, right? We've not spoken a lot about Clix's trio so far. We've not spoken a lot about, you know, Maz. We've not, you know, there's maybe some names I want to throw in there. Like, who do you look at that could be that team?
I think this is like the easiest answer possible. It's just surely got to be Pig Malabuka Walks. Like, they have stunk it up a little just because they've been contested every single, the last 2 majors or whatever. They're uncontested right now. No one fighting them off spawn. They might have outpost, or whatever that's called at the bottom right, which isn't like 100% the best drop spot, but uncontested, these guys off spawn, like, they've, well, I mean, I was gonna say every single time, but whatever the first season was, and then the second half of season 2, they were looking incredibly good. Now coming to globals, like, no one's contested them that we know of so far. So I think I don't think, we've not mentioned them once throughout this whole podcast, and I don't see anyone else mention them at this moment either.
I like that shot.
Yeah,
Boop.
I think that's a decent pick. As much, I think we didn't talk about Clicks that much, so I guess I'll give my reason why I think it's probably not them in this situation. I just, like we talked about, like, adaptability. I think this is going to be a tough one for them. I know last season they had issues with surge trading, and that's with, like, BloodX in the call. They weren't able to adapt in those situations. And then going into LAN, I think it's going to be a little bit scary because, like, they're going to be by themselves, you know? I think we don't know how much impact the coach does have on that trio, but they have him muted at every single tournament. So I think that will be something that is something in the back of their minds there for Clixiomzo Higgs. So it's not my pick for, like, the unexpected result. I think there's a lot of question marks there for them. I think my pick is just based purely off of experience. And then also just, like, a throwback to the meta, because it's very similar to another meta.
I know who you're going to say.
This individual was very, very good. and I think iJob Kamihari are the sleeper pick here because
Yeah.
how could they not be? They've looked like good, but like they don't look like they could win. But you know, I could see a situation at this LAN where you just say, "Oh, Cammy got third again this game, guys. Oh, Cammy with the top 5. Cammy second. Oh, Cammy won. Okay, like I could just see that happening. The only thing fighting against them is iDrop. You know, that brother is cursed in these tournaments. So we'll have at least one guaranteed iDrop crash, I think, at some point in one of the games. So I think that one. I think no one's putting them in the top 3 or top 5, but I could see it happening. You just never know, you know.
I knew you were going to say a team, and I hear it because their situation
what meta are you
was
talking
really
about?
good.
Crashpad meta.
Sorry,
That's what Cammy was primed.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Cammy was primed the Crashpad meta
Yeah.
back in the day in trios. You know, very similar.
Good shouts. No, genuinely some good shouts there. I'm sure we'll get called out for
Who's yours?
not mentioning. I really, 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 really like the 2 names you guys brought up. But if I'm gonna go the other way, if I'm gonna say I'm not gonna go with, because they're not obvious, because the whole point is we're putting them out because they're not obvious, right?
Yeah.
But obviously they're obvious in the sense of, like, especially with Ping and Wox, they obviously did really well last year. You got Malibu because there's so much experience there. Similar sort of thing you'd say about iDrop and them. I think maybe like a weird shout of a team that I like. It might sound really stupid, and maybe I'm gonna come back to regret this one, but I really like Focus, Mixin, and Apple. Like when I watch them play, like their situation. Obviously, I don't like that spot. Like Shogun, I'm not a fan of that spot at all, and so I wouldn't back them just off of that. But like they're a team who, when I've watched them play Fortnite this year, I don't really ever have too many complaints. You know, like I think they're really good. So I wouldn't put them in like that tier with them. But if I'm gonna go a different direction than you guys, I'd say they're a team to watch out for sure. I want to shout out an NA guy, but I can't be asked.
I mean, we got time. It's only been an hour.
No, I can't be asked. No, I got places to be, bro. I gotta be out of it.
Last flight to France.
Yeah, no, I gotta be out of it soon. Yeah, no, I'm really excited for the weekend. Regardless, I'm sure there's other things we could talk about. Other things for a long time. We really could, and I'm sure there'll be someone going, "Why do you got to talk more about this? Why do you got to talk more about that?"
I mean,
there's gonna be that. But
what one we haven't said yet is who do we think is gonna win? Like,
that's how we have to end it. That's how we have to end it.
We can't forget who is gonna win the global championship.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We do have to.
Right. We don't need to top 10.
That would be appropriate to end it with that. Who do I think is going to win the global championship? I am going to say the global champions 2025 will be Vanya Pixie Marius.
Ooh. That's a good prediction.
Dang.
That's bold. I see them coming second, I'll be honest. Maybe third. I just think Poyo's team's going to win it. Poyo Acorn Agers. Yeah. No more explanation needed, I'll be honest.
Fair.
Goop, who's your team?
Yeah. I just gotta rely on history here, you know? And just you know, there's a reason this man has the highest average placement at lands in Fortnite history at 3.5, I believe, last time I looked at it. And I'm gonna put Swizzy Queasy Mustache.
Ooh.
Like they just gotta win. Like that's my indication. Is like if they don't win or at least get second, there's some serious conversation we need to have because like how do they not from the Hive uncontested? You know, like surely.
I think one other question I want to ask is who do you want to win? Not who do you think is gonna win? Who do you want to win? Like,
so what's funny is my want to win, I would go with both of your teams.
Oh.
Queasy, because I want to see Queasy finally get that LAN win. Like, I just want to see it. Swizzy as well. Obviously, he had a tough time last year, you know, and the year before not even getting to go. Then he gets to go, then he can't get his teammate. This year, he finally has his teammates, gets to go. I want to see him get it done. And I just love Mustache. That's my son right there. And then the reason why I'd want your team is because I love Acorn. That's my brother. but the storyline of Poyo going back to globals and winning without Pete, to me, is just so good. Like, that would be so good. That I really just want to see either that team win or Queasy's team win.
Can I ask a controversial clippable moment here?
Okay.
If Poyo wins, is he the undisputed GOAT of Fortnite?
No.
Yeah, no.
What else does he need to do though? That's the question.
Win a game.
Not
I
that
mean,
much, but yeah,
4
you just gotta
FNCS
win.
wins and 2 LAN wins. Like, if this was any other player that never played with Pete, I swear the answer would be yes. But I
But
think
he
it's a
did
very
play with
interesting one.
Pete.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But we're not doing a GOAT conversation right now. We're not gonna do that right now.
Hey, get the stats out. Get the stats out.
Who do
What
you
was
guys
the
wanna
question
win?
at the start? Oh yeah,
Who do you
do
wanna
wanna
win?
I agree with you. I want Swizzy, Queasy, Murstache for all of the same reasons. I mean, Murstache is not my son, but I mean, he's your son, so that's good enough. I think. I also think the Poyo win. I do want them to win, purely for the YouTube video. I love those guys too, but I like the YouTube video would be crazy. That's why.
You put Pete and Poyo.
I would say.
Yeah.
Ooh, and I could score out Pete's face. He's nothing now.
That was like your best video, right? Where you
Nothing without Poyo.
Uh,
Ooh, exactly. Yeah. The titles are just writing themselves right now. It's gonna. I can just imagine it all. Low key, I mean, it's not gonna happen because he's condo spawn. I want a taste in land win. I want a taste in British teams to win. I'm sick of this Pete GOAT debate. Like, let's him dud, and then let's get Tayson up there. It's been too long. It's not gonna happen. But I'm if we're saying things we would want to happen, like imagine that storyline. That'd be insane.
I'm actually gonna change my pick. I just forgot I made a mistake on my pick, so I have to change it.
Oh.
I'm gonna change it to Ages A Compoya because I forgot EU players can't win lands anymore. So it's got to be an NA team.
Duds.
Yeah, I got. No, I'm being serious. I'm changing my pick. I'm either going Pete or I'm going Poya.
Yeah. This is your estimated to win, not who you want to win. You mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my
but,
that's
yeah,
who I
yeah.
think.
Oh,
Who I think will win. Who I think will win is going to be one of those two because it's just going to be an NA team again, and we've got to hold it for a year. But who I want to win would be Swizzy, Queasy, Moustache, or still Acorn's team.
Fair. Boop. What's the one to win?
The one that I want to win.
Watch him drop a Middle East team.
No, I'm not getting paid enough for that one, buddy. My heart says Vico Venoflexi because I think
Valid.
that's a team that's been broken a few too many times this season. I would love to get that final thing before they inevitably split up for duos as well. Because I think they've been getting a lot of shit for teams for not much reason. So I think this would be a nice way to prove it. And they're like the team that I feel like if we're gonna have a team that competes with like NA, would be like, oh, this is like the best team in the world. I think that's the team that people would like bring up the most in terms of those conversations. But if not them, then Aegis A Compoyo, because I think like that's the best storyline. I think they'll be hype. Honestly, even the Pete would be hype as fuck too. Like just like because there's gonna be situations like, okay, well, this is the greatest comeback of all time, Well, honestly, I think it's just good in general. So
I think the good thing about I know a lot of people have been saying like Pete wins are getting boring or whatever. I've seen those narratives, but like I think the great thing about a Pete win, especially when you look at his wins this year, is that like you just know it's going to be close. Like it's going to be like an actual intense close race, right?
100%.
Which would be fun. Like I think generally the best scenario for globals would just be like a neck and neck race between Pete and Poyo to win. Like that's like best case scenario, I think, storyline wise. So I hope that's what we get.
Here's my final question. Another clippable moment. How many EU, how many NA, and how many other regions? Top 10. You don't have to name who, you just have to give numbers.
6 EU, 4 NA.
Ooh, I was gonna say 6 EU, 3 NA, 1 other region, because I said earlier they'd come 10th. So
I'm gonna go 6 EU, 4 NA as well. I think there's a clear 4 NA that gets top 10 here, like obvious. in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone else from NA getting top 10. So I think there's a clear 4, and then EU that they just has the most teams, so they're gonna be uncon surely.
Yeah.
I would expect.
Imagine game 12. We have 10 teams who could win it. Because we're all on.
Oh, mate, that global speech is popping off.
In French, yeah.
In French, allez!
It's actually not going to be me. They're going to get like a French fella up there, and he's going to,
Oh no.
off, so,
Je m'appelle Levin Touquet.
Oh, guys, it's been fun.
Yeah.
What? Wait, that actually sounded. That sounded
Yeah,
good.
that's,
though,
can I
what
go
does
to
that
the
mean?
toilet, please? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, in French, the only thing I learned was like you had to ask to go to the toilet in French when in my
Oh, yeah,
school.
Of course.
Est-ce que je peux aller te s'il vous plaît? And then they let me
Est-ce
go.
que je parle le français? Oui, oui.
That's so funny, guys. I've enjoyed this. It's been fun.
It has been fun.
And see you
let's-
next month. Or same
Let's
time?
do this.
See you in
Let's do
2026.
let's do this after globals. Maybe that would be
Yeah,
a cool idea if we did this.
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Can
guys.
Epic just buy us out? Just buy us out, Epic. Fund it. Fund it.
The drop spot's gone. Might as well just bloody
Put us in.
Get us-
Put us in, coach.
Yeah,
We've
just
been
put
seeing the
us in.
sponsors on the Blast broadcast. Get like a Zowie sponsor, a little of this. We got
man,
some
get
room.
us in there. We could do
Yeah.
something. All right. See you guys all after globals. Let us know who you think is going to win. Thank you. We love you. Goodbye.